Hi, Linda.
Hi, Nancy.
Welcome to episode 31 of the Front Porch Book Club.
The Front Porch Book Club is a podcast that meets twice a month.
We like to dig deep into the relationship between characters and the worlds they live in.
Grab your book and iced tea and join us on the front porch.
So, Lenny, since our last episode, we have seen each other on 2 trips in May.
It was so fun!
It is crazy. So one part of our seeing each other was a fabulous quick trip to New York City.
Oh my goodness. That was so fun. And both of our first trips to Brooklyn because we had only been to Manhattan.
Yes.
So we found where the Brooklyn Bridge starts. It's a little tricky.
It's a little tricky.
The walking path across that river. But we found it.
Yep.
And we walked it. And it was a beautiful day.
Yep.
And I only asked you to slow down one time for me to scurry on after you. And we thought, wasn't that fun? You could see the Statue of Liberty down there.
Yep.
And we thought the next time we do that, we're going to get bikes because there's a bike trail right under that walking trail. And those people had a great time down there.
Yeah, that would be fun. The walking was super fun too. How long? I think it's about 1.5 miles when you kind of get on the apron of the Brooklyn Bridge. And by the time you walk across, I think they say it's 1.5 miles or so.
You know what? It didn't even seem like that to me.
Yeah.
It was such a pretty day. Now, maybe if it was 90 degrees and sunny.
Yeah.
Or 20 degrees and breezy, it might have felt like a mile and a half. But we had a beautiful day. It was breezy. It was nice. And we were going to go to a play, dinner and a play.
Yes.
So we had fun things planned. We just were so taken back how nice Brooklyn was.
Oh my goodness. We love Brooklyn.
We love Brooklyn. I could definitely live in Brooklyn. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Very residential, quiet. We saw a great show there in a really cool theater.
Yes.
I didn't even know they did shows over Brooklyn. And of course they would. I just never went to a show there. It's so simple to get to.
Was it not perfect how we could get on and off of the subway literally right at our hotel, and it took us right over to Brooklyn and back?
That's amazing. Well, that's partly you picking a really nice hotel right there where a sub stop was, but we didn't even have to do transfers and all of that. And then we saw 3 shows in 2 days.
Yep.
Just had so much fun running around with you.
So what was your favorite part of our trip, do you think?
Michael Jackson.
I knew you were going to say that.
Michael Jackson. It was fantastic. I'm totally obsessed with the show, the choreography, the music. The guy that did Michael Jackson was amazing. I loved everything about it. It is for him alone that I may actually watch the Tony Awards because I want this show to win. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
The choreography alone needs to get an award.
Yeah, it was spectacular.
Oh, I can't say enough good things about it. It was fantastic. Nance, what was your favorite part? And of course, being with you, dear sister. That was really my favorite part.
That's a given.
That's a given.
We must say, though, that we weren't planning on seeing MJ. And we were like, well, we could at least go down to the tickets booth and see if there's anything we want to see. So we went to the tickets booth on Times Square. Do you remember we're up there at the box office window and I said, well, we're interested in 2 for MJ. And he said, yeah, we have 2. And he said, where would you like to be? And I said, well, really best available would be great. And he said, okay, B, 7 and 8. And I remember I leaned in, I said, excuse me? And he said, B, 7 and 8. Will that work? That will be fine.
Didn't I say, are those good tickets? And you're like, those will work.
2 rows back. They were great tickets.
Oh my goodness.
We were right up front.
We were right there. Yeah.
I guess they'll do.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Well, I think for me, my favorite part probably was walking over that Brooklyn Bridge, because it's something that has been on my bucket list for a long time. But, all the times I've been to New York, there have just been things that have been higher on the list than wandering down there and taking the time. And it really does have to be a nice day. You do not want to do it if it's cold.
No.
You would be a little frozen icicle.
Okay, so next trip to New York, we get bikes. You know what? And we'll get my nephew to take us on a bike tour, because that was the other thing. We had fun time with him.
Do you know what? That maybe was another fun part of the trip for me, because I have not really gotten to know your nephew at all. Like the last time I saw him probably was at your wedding when he was a tiny boy. But I've heard about him all growing up and in high school and going to college and then moving to New York and this career and this wonderful young lady that he's going to marry. I mean, I've heard about him his whole life, but to meet him as an adult and get to know him a little bit, that was so special for me because he's such a special, special person to you.
Oh, they both are.
Oh,
it was
yes.
so nice to make connections with them. Okay, so we'll have to plan our next trip. Are we doing a podcast today on this book?
Maybe we will do a podcast. So, okay, what I will say is we did get some pictures this time, and one or two have probably shown up in our newsletter for our subscribers.
Probably us on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Probably. So this month we're reading The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah, Lenny.
Yeah, this is a book that you recommended because several people had recommended this book to you too.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about this book. And guess what? This book is about two sisters.
Yep.
They're both adults at this point, but the youngest one is quite not an adult. How old is she when she starts out? Maybe 18?
I think so, yeah.
She's still kind of in school, but it's kind of like a finishing school, and she's been kicked out of several schools because
right.
She's a little hard to handle sometimes.
Yeah.
And then the older sister is married and has a child and her own house and her own stuff going on. But because of their mom dying when they were both young, their dad doesn't know how to parent them. Maybe he's not interested in them. Maybe doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe has a drinking problem. I don't remember.
Definitely deep in depression and grief.
Yeah. So they go off to various caregivers and feel kind of his rejection from them, and both handle that in different ways. And the book kind of takes off. And I don't know, Nancy, what happens, but a day later, I'm halfway through this book.
Wow.
And I'm just buzzing through it because it grips you and it doesn't let go. But you're the one who recommended that we do this book. What was it about this book that you thought would be interesting for us to read and talk about?
Well, this is so funny. I guess this shows how much I rely on the recommendations of friends. A couple friends said that they really liked Kristin Hannah and that they liked this book particularly. And they were people who kind of surprised me. One of them was a man. And I thought, I always thought those were more women's fiction. But when this man told me that he read it and really loved it, I thought, oh, okay, I guess I have a different thought about who this author is than she really is. So he had highly recommended it. Then a couple women friends of mine said how much they loved it. And I thought, okay, well, that's enough for me. And I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to read her. So I really liked it. And I guess you did too. I guess it shows that I can rely on my friends' recommendations.
Well, I think they did a good one with this. Yeah. I'll tell you, I liked this book for a number of reasons. One was that it was, and I'm glad that men like it too. This is not an exclusive women book by any means.
Right.
But you hear a lot about World War II from a man's perspective.
So true.
First of all, you got the people who are into the tanks, the military, the strategic, and no, we need to go over here because this is where this army's going. All of that stuff.
Yep.
Okay, that's got a certain person in there looking at all of that. And then you've got the life of the soldier and what was going on there and the concentration camps, and people are interested in that. And
the political side of things.
The political side of things. So now this story is really about the people left behind.
Yeah.
Where two French girls, one's a mom and the other one is single. And so she can do whatever she wants with this, right? It's very much what happens to the females and what what choices did they make? How did they survive not having food? How were they mothering? How were they doing things? And then their experiences are very different. So I
Yeah.
read something about this author that she had done her research, and she tried to tie in to her female characters the experiences of a lot of women
Okay.
who lived in that time and the choices that they made. I thought that was interesting because she was taking what a lot of people's experiences were, because it kind of reads like, oh, this really happened to these women. So you kind of think, oh, maybe this is a true story. And it's really not a true story. But there's so much factual details of what people's life was really like that you think that it probably could be.
Hmm.
I do have a question for you. Which sister did you like more or did resonate with you in a certain way?
Okay, so the two sisters were Vianne, the older sister, and Isabel, the younger sister. I felt like Isabel was maybe the one that resonated with me more. And I wonder if the book was written, though, for Isabel to seem more heroic in a way. She was written as rebellious as a young woman, and then the war comes, and she's like, these Germans aren't taking over my country. They cannot murder people in my country. I am going to take action. And so she takes on the role of this very active French freedom fighter. I guess if I was thinking about it, I would think that that's what I would be doing at that age. But I do think that there's something about Vianne that is just also amazingly heroic, that is heroic in a much subtler way. But I would say, even with that, I think Isabel was the one who I thought was just a great character. And I really enjoyed following her transformation from this young woman to this very brave, courageous person willing to give her life for her country. How about you?
Oh my. Yeah, I did like Isabel. I liked her spunk and her determination and this rebelliousness that she had, how that kind of lent her into standing up against the authority.
Yeah.
She had kind of a wider lens around her to go, hey, I think we're going to be in trouble. This doesn't look so good. And she had more of a world presence to know, like, things are going to get bad pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Why is everyone allowing this to happen? Don't people see what I see? Her vision was wider. She was able to kind of see the future more clearly, I think, than others. Where Vianne was kind of like, bury your head in the sand, but I've got responsibilities. I've got to feed this one and I've got to take care of this. And then my garden needs tended and I've got all these other things. So I'm taking care of the day to day, as what a lot of parents do. You have
Yeah.
to get up and you're working all day long and you're doing things. So I liked both of the ladies a lot. There's part of me that thinks, oh, I would love to be Isabel, right? She's doing all these crazy things and she's out there and she's in danger and she's doing. But Vianne was probably how I would have survived it.
Hmm.
A little more cautious, a little bit, I've got my child to take care of, so I can't be as dangerous. I have got to look around. I don't have many cards, but the cards I have, I've got to play carefully and to my chest. However, she does some pretty cool things too.
Yeah.
And this is where I think like that would have been me. A mother gives you her child.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the baby. I'll take them, because as soon as she gets on that train, she's dead.
Right.
Yes, I will raise your child. Keep them with me. They will be safe. I know that there's some bravery in me. I would have taken that child. And I appreciate her character a lot because I think it's probably what a lot of women were looking at the things just around them in their little town going, how do I survive this?
Yeah.
I'm not a freedom fighter. I'm not going to, what is it, the Alps or something? This girl is crossing some kind of,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
what? That's fantastic. But just surviving it with your child is amazing. And she had some really hard choices to make along the way for her
Yeah.
to survive that.
I think it did show the danger of just trying to survive it, just keeping your head down, and the inevitable choices that you had to make because things were going to happen. Someone was going to thrust a baby at you and say, please take my baby. You're forced to make decisions. A German officer billets in your house and you've got to make a decision about what am I going to do as a result of this. You don't get to live the life you want to live. Things are thrust upon you and you have to decide what your reaction is going to be, realizing your child needs you to stay alive.
Right. Hard choices to make. So that's what makes the book riveting and interesting. You really don't know what's going to happen to these characters
Yeah.
and their children. And both of them have a love. Obviously, the one is married. What's going to happen to her husband because he's gone most of the book. We have no idea what's going to happen with him.
Right.
And Isabella's love interest, wow.
Yeah.
We don't know too much what's going to go on there either. So
right.
It's a tough situation, but I like the way the author put all of these little pieces into place and carried us on this incredible journey throughout the entire war.
Yeah.
Until the end.
Now, as I was reading it, I thought this would make a great movie. And then I found out that this, in fact, is another book that we've read that is being made into a movie. It's going to be released in 2023 and will star sisters, Elle and Dakota Fanning. I think that is fun that they cast two sisters to play the sisters in this book. Knowing that we were going to discuss this as sisters, did that change the way that you read the book, and will it change the way that you think about the movie?
No. I understand a sisterly relationship, but their relationship was contentious because poor little Isabel, she felt so rejected. She was rejected by her father. She was rejected in part by the various people that didn't raise her right along the way. And she was ultimately rejected, at least she felt so, by her sister, where her sister was like 18 when she got married. She didn't know what she was doing either.
Right.
She just didn't have love around her. She didn't feel that she was loved and cared for and that she was second rate. And her hurt and her pain caused her her response to that was to act out. I didn't really think about their relationship and our relationship because it's very different. I do like books about sisters because I have a sister and I like that relationship.
Yeah. It was a difficult relationship, though. I definitely wanted them to reconcile and understand each other, but I thought the author did a great job portraying the misunderstandings that they had along the way, their life situations, how that contributed to their, not really estrangement, but their just not getting along. Ultimately, though, I think they do come to an understanding of one another, which was very nice, I thought.
Yeah, and I think they did love each other. And I think if you have that pain that she had with her sisters, that she loved her sister and she wanted to stay with her sister and was rejected by her sister. And then as the war carries on, she feels rejected again and sent away. Well, she was rejected again and sent away, but in part because of the choices she was making, which was bringing danger to Vianne's family.
Right.
And so, yeah, if you're going to live this crazy life, you don't get to stay here at my house, because I don't need people storming in here with guns.
Right.
But yeah, they do come together, I think, at the end in a loving relationship, which is nice to see.
The book opens in 1995 on the Oregon coast in the United States, and there's an unknown narrator who says, "If I have learned anything in this long life of mine, it is this. In love, we find out who we want to be. In war, we find out who we are." So that really felt like a theme of the book, this idea of love and war. And for these characters, war, of course, changes the way that they love and behave. Like you said, Vianne is about keeping her family safe, and Isabella is about fighting for her country. I thought that these were two really interesting ways to think about an individual's reaction to any kind of aggression. And what is that? Fight, flight, or what? Freeze? Is that it?
Freeze.
Yeah. Yeah.
Freeze.
So for Vianne, it seemed like she was freeze. And for Isabel, she was fight.
Absolutely. Yeah, she was fight all the way. You saw that behavior or that kind of worldview, I would even say, like, I'm going to fight in life for what I believe or what I want or what I want to get.
Yeah.
The world's a tough place. I've been treated maybe not so nice. And so I'm going to be a fighter. And she does right out of the gate. Oh, hey, there's like Nazi tanks in the street. What's going on? Oh, no, 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 no. This isn't good. No, 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 no. This isn't right. This isn't right. I'm going to find like-minded people. This isn't going to happen.
Right.
And then there's some people that are just frozen.
Yeah.
And then there's those that are fleeing.
Definitely.
Well, before the Nazis got there, like, I'm out of here.
Fleeing for a really good reason. Like
absolutely.
Vianne's friend who she tries to help flee, and terrible consequences of even trying to flee. It's like there are no right answers here.
No, the fight, flight, or freeze is a response to stress and anxiety. So there's a reason we have that fight, flight. It's to survive. And they're just responding in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of Vianne, I think, that is the freeze, because it's kind of like, if I put my head in the sand, maybe this really isn't going to happen. But she gets her land legs a little bit, and things get bad enough that she is forced to take more of an action than she was at the beginning of the war, when you thought, well, certainly this will be over soon.
Right.
Well, at least we have food to eat. Okay, there's a war going on, but I'm this teacher and I go to school every day, and the Nazis kind of stay away from me, and then I lose my job. And then what are the Nazis doing now? It just gets worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in war we find out who we are is that we're put to the test. And that's what I thought of when I read that. It's like, we really find out what we're made of. We find out, you could always think, well, now, what would I really be like if that happened? Would I be that person that would go and hide Jews in my secret little attic space? And would I do that? Or would I be like, how would I respond to that? And the thing is, I don't think you really know until you're put to that test. Some people might know. I don't know. I can certainly see myself going, what do you Nazis think you're doing? This is France. Get off of my street now. I could certainly see myself going, what do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
You have no right in my school. I'm the teacher here. Leave. But they have machine guns.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know who I would be, except for I think I would probably help the little children.
Yeah.
If there was a little child that needed my help, I would take them in.
Well, it's really what the people in Ukraine are facing now.
Yeah.
Their country has been invaded. Rightfully, a lot of people are fleeing.
Well, yeah.
Rightfully, a lot of people are staying to fight. And there are probably a lot of people who are just kind of like, like the people who are living in the subways. I just want to keep my head down and survive this. And I want it to be over. And it is hard to know, depending on where you are in your life or what's going on, like who would you be? And there's no right answer. None of them are right. None of them are wrong.
You're just surviving it, and whatever your opinion is. But I find it very interesting when you watch the news. It's like, oh yes, I'm the pro tennis player in the country.
Yes.
And there that person is. It's a tiny little girl with a machine gun. And they're like, yeah, and not right now, I'm a soldier. But there are people that are like, yeah, that's what my husband had to stay and fight, so I'm going to stay and fight. Yeah. I'm the ballerina, but right now I'm a soldier.
Yeah, it's just amazing that people are being forced to make some of those choices right now as we're sitting here recording this.
Yeah, and it's the same situation.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing. War has come in, that's taken over, and what is your response?
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about the other part of that quote? In love, we find out who we want to be.
Oh, I don't know. What do you think? I don't really have a thought on that.
I think there is something about love. When you really love someone, you see all the good in them and you feel like you want to be the best person you possibly can. So it is the person you want to be. There's nothing like unconditional love to give you hope that you can be a better person and give you the belief that you can be, and belief, in fact, that the world can be better, and hope that the world can be better. Love is beautiful that way, I think.
It is beautiful, and I'm glad that they both had a love interest in the book. Now, I don't know if we want to say anything about the ending or not, because the ending was unexpected to me.
Okay, well, we'll do a spoiler alert, and then you can say whatever you want to say about the ending. So, spoiler alert.
Well, the beginning of the book starts out with this lady talking. And as typical Linda fashion, I'm writing down the name of the characters. Wait, who's this person? And I'm connecting the person who now we're seeing as an adult who's going back to France. And I'm thinking it's Isabel.
Right.
And that she's talking about, oh, her life, being the spy and getting the Nazis and
Right.
how she's going to save people and climbing the Alps, and all this kind of stuff.
Right. She's going to speak at some big conference and going to be honored.
Yeah, that's not the little old lady who's coming back. And maybe that's all we'll just say about that.
And I think the author, absolutely, that was her plan.
Yeah. She set us up, and it was beautiful. And then I'm thinking, oh, I just didn't read it right because I'm not a good reader. So then I had to get back. And I read those early chapters to go, yeah, she set me up.
And she doesn't give easy answers either. Even at the very end, she drops a couple things on you and you're like, oh, wow, I don't know what I would do in that situation. So after the war, Ari, her son's friend, is taken from her, and she has now been raising him for 5 years. He calls her mama. He doesn't even remember his mother anymore, but he's taken from her and sent to the US where he has relatives. And was that the right decision or not? She chooses to keep the secret of her son's paternity from him. Even he's a completely grown man, professional. He's a doctor, like maybe even in his 50s or 60s, but she never tells him who his real father is. So these all are difficult situations. There aren't any easy answers at all, but I do appreciate that. People get forced into doing things. They do the best that they can. In hindsight, people might have more information, but even in hindsight, just depending on who you are, you might have different ideas about what these characters did, whether it was right or wrong. What did you feel was the most difficult situation of the book?
Well, there's a lot. I think letting Ari leave me would have been my tough one.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what he's going to.
Right.
You're going to a different country. He's already known tragedy. His mother was killed. I am his mother. How can I let a crying little child be taken away from me?
Yeah.
I don't think I could have done that. I kind of think I would have said, Jew or not, relatives or not, this boy's staying with me. So I probably would have differed there. It would have been a tough choice. And the people that came gave good reasons for them to take them. But having had so much loss and had so much taken from me, I just said, yeah, no, the child's staying with me. Yeah, you guys do whatever you're going to do. If you need to get a court order, you need to do whatever you need to do. But this little one's staying here. So tough choices to be sure. I think that Vianne's husband knew that that baby was not his.
Yeah.
I think they both probably realized. I don't think that needed to be said.
Yeah.
What did you think was the most difficult situation?
I think maybe it was choosing to not tell Julian about his paternity. I could understand why she did it, but I think that would be hard. I'd probably do the same thing, though, now that I think about it.
What do you think you'd do? Not tell him?
Yeah, not tell him. I mean, it's just too horrific.
It is horrific. And then that might change his view on himself.
Exactly. And he's the innocent in this.
Right. I mean, to what benefit does it have to him to know who his DNA came from? Probably none.
Well, I guess in modern day, the benefit would be if a cousin in Germany calls him, in some ways, DNA now is the truth is always out if you do, one of those tests. I guess the benefit of telling the son would be to tell him the truth, what happened, why, and how.
Yeah. Tough conversation to be had. I mean, for Julian, he was raised by a loving man who was his father.
What part of the book did you like best?
I don't even know how to answer this question because this is a book about World War II. None of it is good. And I mean, like, in a way, all of it is kind of this tragic story. I guess I would answer it in saying that I liked the way the author allowed a lot of gray area. Was there good in the Nazi? Vianne seemed to think so. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything, but she seemed to be taken by him on some level and thinking that he was a good person to her.
Yeah.
And he was helpful a few times, and he did bring food home and keep them alive. So I liked the way she allowed that uneasiness of that kind of gray.
Yeah.
Morally gray. How would you do this? There's no good answers. And that part be the book and the experience. What did you think?
I think really what you were saying earlier, that she took the actual experience of a lot of people and helped convey what it was like living in occupied France at the time. And that's kind of a new story, a story that I haven't read before. Like, what was it like living in occupied France and you're just trying to survive? So I found that very captivating. And even Isabel's story, I've read enough about the French resistance that it all rang very true to me.
Mm-hmm.
It just made me feel like it really was a glimpse into what life could have been like during that time in France. And I really appreciated that.
It's an interesting book, and we'll continue to think about this book and talk about it a little bit more.
Yep, that sounds great. So our website is frontporchbookclub.com.
Our episodes come out twice a month, the first and third Wednesdays of each month, or about. Sometimes we get out a little early because, we're busy.
Like this one's going to be out a little early.
Because we're busy.
That's right.
Well, Nancy, you have fun on your next vacation, okay?
That sounds great.
We'll see you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.